Okay. With that being said, where are we going to? Here. Okay. There we go. Let's see what we can get done. Let's start with the blessing that we make before we learn Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah.
Sora. Well, I'm here, but you lost.
We lost Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. We're discussing about using food for non-food purposes. Is that allowed? And here is where we are going to continue. Similarly, the sages taught one may draw wine through pipes before a bride and groom as a blessed omen. So they would take these pipes and they would pour wine through the pipes, and the wine would obviously go to waste. And it's considered, oh no, it wouldn't go to waste, sorry. And at the end of these pipes, it would go into a container. And that is considered permissible because the rind itself is still usable. And one may throw roasted grain and nuts before them in the summer, where you can pick it up and clean it, wash it off and eat it, but not in the rainy season, because in the summer they can be retrieved and eaten, which is not the case if they're getting muddy in the winter. But we may not throw cakes and pastries neither in the summer nor in the rainy season, because those would get ruined. Rav Yehuda said, if one forgot and put items in his mouth without reciting a blessing, what do you do? If you have the food in your mouth and then you realize that you didn't yet make a blessing. So Rav Yehuda says you move it to one side of your mouth and then you can make the blessing. And then you eat it and swallow it. The Gemara notes that there are 3 brises on this topic. It was taught in one brisa, you swallow it. It was taught in another brisa, you should spit it out. Another brisa taught you move them to the side of your mouth. So when does each of these apply? The Gemara explains this is not a contradiction. Rather, each brisa is addressing a different case. This brisa, which it says you should swallow them, refers to liquid, because you can't move liquid to one side of your mouth and make a blessing, you'll choke. This brisa, in which it was taught you should spit it out, that refers to a food item that does not become disgusting if you remove it from your mouth, and you can subsequently eat it. For example, if you put a piece of gum in your mouth, you can take it out, you can make the blessing, and you can put it back in your mouth. This brisa in which it was taught he moves them to the side of his mouth refers to a food item that becomes disgusting, in which case it is sufficient to move it to the side, right? If you have a piece of potato or a potato chip in your mouth, if you spit it out, yeah, that's not going to work too well. So you move it to the side of your mouth and you make the blessing. Page 51a, common write-up. The Gemara asks, with regard to a food item that does not become disgusting as well, let him shift it to the side and recite the blessing. What's wrong with moving it to the side of your mouth? Why do you have to try and take it out of your mouth to make the blessing? Why the need to spit it out? Rav Yitzchak Kaskasa explained before Rabbi Yossi bar Avin in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. One spits it out because it is stated, may my mouth will be filled with your praise. That's what King David says in Psalms. Now, if you have food in your mouth, is your mouth filled with praise? No, your mouth is filled with praise and food. So that's why it's preferable to take it out of your mouth, meaning that one should recite God's praises with his entire mouth, not merely half. They raised the dilemma before Rav Chisda. If somebody ate and drank and did not recite a blessing, what is the ruling? What happens if you realized only after you ate the blessing? Or if you took a sip of water and then you realized and you're not going to be drinking more, you only needed 1 sip of water? Does he return and recite the blessing that he should have recited beforehand before he continues eating or not? In other words, I was mistaken there. Over here, we're talking about where he's going to continue eating after. So what does he do? And Rav Chisda said in an analogy, somebody who ate garlic and now his breath smells, should he go and eat another garlic because his breath smells? No. Of course you have to recite a blessing, because just because a person did something wrong doesn't mean they should make it smell worse. That is to say, one must recite the blessing. Should one who committed a transgression and failed to recite a blessing before eating remedy his situation by continuing to eat without reciting a blessing? So Ravina concluded from this that even if you finished your meal, you must return and recite a blessing. He cites as proof, as it was taught in a brisa, with regards to the laws of immersion. One who was ritually impure, who immersed himself in a ritual bath and emerged, as he comes out of the ritual bath, he recites, "Blessed are you, Lord our God, Master of the universe, who has made us holy through his mitzvahs and commanded us about ritual immersion." So evidently, in certain cases, one may recite the blessing after completing the act. Was that clear, or should we explain a little more?
No, but it didn't.
Sorry?
No, I was on phone.
Okay, got it.
No, go ahead. I'm fine.
So when somebody goes to the mikvah for a immersion that is required, for example, a woman who goes to mikvah, after she goes to the mikvah, she makes the blessing. So we see that in certain circumstances, you could make the blessing after the act. So the Gemara is going to discuss over here that it's different, because when we talk about mikvah, you couldn't make the blessing beforehand because you were ritually impure. The Gemara rejects the parallel between the cases. That is not so, as there, in the case of immersion, initially before he immersed himself, the man was unfit to recite the blessing because he was ritually impure. Here, in the case where one did not recite a blessing before eating, initially he was fit to recite the blessing and should have made the blessing before he ate. And since he did not recite the blessings before he ate, and now he has concluded his meal, he is therefore excluded from reciting the blessing. He is completely excluded and has no way to remedy the situation. So if you finished eating already and you realize that you forgot to make a blessing, it's too late. You can make the after blessing, but not the before blessing. More laws regarding wine that the Gemara recited earlier, the sages taught. Asparagus. Wine or other alcoholic beverages that they were accustomed to drink early in the morning before eating. So that's not talking about the kind of asparagus that we have. It's talking about some alcoholic beverage that was eaten in the morning for medicinal benefits. Let's see if Google knows about this.
Well, I mean, just offhand, what does asparagus have to do with alcoholic beverages?
Um,
Wine or otherwise?
yeah, asparagus, alcoholic beverage. But this seems to be making wine out of asparagus or
Yeah.
cocktails with asparagus. Um, okay, well, anyways. Where are we?
What
Is
alcohol's meant for?
agreeable for the heart and beneficial for the eyes, and all the more so for the intestines. Okay, so it looks like we're getting drunk in the morning. And in extolling the virtues of this drink, the Gemara says, one who is accustomed to drink it, it is agreeable for his entire body. However, one must be careful, as one who drinks excessively and become drunk, it is harmful for the entire body. The Gemara discusses this from the fact that it was taught that asparagus is agreeable for the heart. It may be inferred that we are dealing with asparagus made from wine, which is known to be agreeable for the heart. As we learned, a little more so, asparagus is beneficial for the intestines. Wasn't it taught in the Brisa for L-E-T, which is an acronym for Lev. Do you know what Lev means? I'll give you a hint. It's written here. Heart, Einayim, eyes, and Techol, the spleen. It is beneficial. But for Rosh, Me'ayim, Tachtoiniyos, which means the head, the intestines, and the hemorrhoids, it is harmful. So from this would seem that asparagus made from wine would be harmful for the person's intestines. The Gemara responds that Brisa, which was taught that asparagus is beneficial to one's intestines, is talking if you make the asparagus out of old, aged wine. As we learned in the Mishnah concerning the laws of vows, that one who vowed wine is going to be forbidden for me to taste because it is harmful to the intestines. And those who heard him said to him, but isn't old wine beneficial to the intestines? If he was silent and did not argue the point, he is forbidden to drink new wine because of his vow. However, old wine he is permitted to drink because of his vow, being so we can conclude from this that old wine is beneficial for the intestines. The sages taught 6 things were said to regard to this kind of drink called asparagus. One only drinks it in undiluted and from a full cup. He receives it from the attendant in his right hand and drinks it with his left hand. One should not converse after drinking it, and one does not stop while drinking it, but should drink it all at once. One only returns it to the one who gave it to him, and he spits after drinking it, and one may only supplement it with its own kind, meaning that after drinking asparagus, one should only eat something that is used to make similar beverages, for example, dates after date beer, etc. The Gemara challenges, wasn't it taught in a different brisa that one may only supplement asparagus with bread? The Gemara responds, that is not difficult. This brisa, which says that you should supplement it with bread, refers to asparagus made of wine, while the brisa that says you should supplement it with its own kind is talking about asparagus made of date beer, so then you should eat dates instead of bread. It was taught in one brisa that asparagus is beneficial for the heart, the eyes, and the spleen, and harmful for the head, the intestines, and the hemorrhoids. And it was taught in another brisa that asparagus is beneficial for the head, the intestines, and the hemorrhoids, but harmful for the eyes, the heart, and the spleen. So that means that it's talking about the exact opposite. The Gemara responds, that is not difficult because it depends what the asparagus is made from. It's just throwing me for a loop that we're talking about asparagus and I keep thinking about those shoots instead of alcoholic beverages. But anyway, this brisa in which it was taught that asparagus is beneficial for the heart, the eyes, and the spleen refers to asparagus made of wine, while the one that says that asparagus is harmful for those three refers to asparagus made of beer. I don't think that people make these kind of drinks anymore, and I also don't think that most people get drunk in the morning anymore. But anyways, the Gemara resolves a
Russian.
Sorry?
You haven't been to Russia. They drink shots of vodka. They drink shots of vodka for breakfast. I mean it. Literally.
For real.
For real.
For real.
For real. I attended a home breakfast in Russia. Yeah. Yeah. That's right alongside the orange juice and the coffee and yeah.
That's crazy. So it's not just a joke.
No.
Wow.
No, Russia, they take their vodka seriously.
Very seriously. That explains a little bit. The Gemara resolve, you know what? I heard one guy, he said, any brain cell that can't handle alcohol is not a brain cell that I want. The Gemara resolves the contradiction between 2 other brises in the same manner. It was taught in one brisa that if he spit after drinking the asparagus, he's going to suffer illness. But it was taught in the brisa that we just learned that you're supposed to spit after drinking asparagus. And if he did not spit after drinking asparagus, he suffers an illness. The Gemara responds, that is not difficult. This brisa in which it was taught that if he spit after drinking it, he suffers an illness, refers to asparagus made of wine. While that brisa in which it was taught that if he did not spit, he suffers an illness, refers to asparagus made of beer. Rav Ashi said, now that you said that if he did not spit after drinking it, he suffers an illness, it's water, the saliva that comes in a person's mouth after drinking asparagus, may be expelled even when standing before the king, as failure to do so will endanger him. So even if you're standing in front of the king, if you drank some of this beer that you need to spit afterwards, and you are, even if you're in front of the king, you could still spit because otherwise you will be endangered. Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha said, Suriel, the heavenly ministering angel of the divine presence, told me 3 things from on high. Number 1, do not take your cloak in the morning from the hand of your servant and wear it. Number 2, do not wash your hands ritual washing from one who has not ritually washed his own hands. And number 3, only return a cup of asparagus to the one who gave it to you. What is the reason? Because a band of demons, and some say a band of angels of destruction, lie in wait for a person and say, when will a person encounter one of these circumstances that I can capture him? Similarly, the Gemara relates that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said, the angel of death told me 3 things. Do not take your cloak in the morning from the hand of your servant and wear it. Do not ritually wash your hands from one who has not ritually washed his own hands. And do not stand before the women when they return from the burial of the deceased. Because I dance and come before them, and my sword is in hand, and I have license to destroy. The Gemara asks, what happens if you are walking and you find the women who are coming back from a funeral? Then what do you do? The Gemara answers, let him jump 4 cubits from where he stands. If there is a river, let him cross it. If there is another path, let him go down that. If there is a wall, let him stand behind it. And if not, he should turn his face around and recite the verse. And the Lord said to Satan, the Lord rebukes you, Satan. The Lord that has chosen Jerusalem rebukes you. Is not this man a brand plucked from the fire until they pass him? And that will save him from the Satan. Rabbi Zera said that Rabbi Abahu said, and some say this halacha was taught in a brisa. 10 things were said with regard to a cup of blessing, which is the cup of wine over which grace after meals is recited. You have to rinse and wash the cup. You must use undiluted wine, and it must be full. It requires adorning the talis and wrapping the tefillin. He takes it in his 2 hands and places it in his right hand. He must lift it at least 1 handbreadth from the ground, and when reciting the blessing, he has to be looking at the wine. And some say he also sends it as a gift to members of his household. When he's done drinking, he should hand out the wine. Rabbi Yochanan said we only have 4 of those 10 things, which is that we agree that you need to rinse it, you need to wash it, you have to use undiluted wine and a full cup. Everything else, you don't need it. What is rinsing and what is washing? It was taught that rinsing is you have to rinse the inside, and washing is talking about the outside of the cup. Rabbi Yochanan extolled those who drink from a full cup of wine, and Rabbi Yochanan said, anyone who recites a blessing over a full cup, they give him boundless inheritance, as it says, and full of the blessing of the Lord, possess the sea and the south. Indicating that one whose cup is full will receive God's blessing and will inherit from all sides. Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina says he merits and inherits 2 worlds, this world and the world to come. So now you know why we make sure that the cup is completely full when we're making Kiddush. The Gemara continues explaining the 10 things that were said with regard to the cup of blessing. The sages would adorn the cup of blessing in different ways. Rav Yehuda would adorn it with his students, as when he recited the blessing, he would surround himself with students to accord honor to the blessing. Rav Chisda would adorn it with other cups. He would surround the cup of blessing with other cups. Rav Chanan said, and specifically with undiluted wine. Rav Shesha says that he would do it during the blessing of the land, the second blessing in the grace after meals. The sages also had different customs with regards to wrapping. Rav Papa would wrap himself in his prayer shawl and sit and recite grace after meals. Rav Asi spread a cloth on his head as a sign of respect. With regard to that which it was said that you're supposed to take it with two hands, Rabbi Chinan of our Papa said, what is the verse that proves this? As it is stated, lift your hands, plural, in holiness, and bless the Lord. As for what it was said that after you take it in two hands, you place it in your right hand, Rabbi Chia bar Abba said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, the early sages asked, what is the ruling? May the left hand assist the right when taking the cup? Rav Ashi said, since the early sages raised this dilemma, and it was not resolved for them, we will act stringently and not assist the right hand with the left to make sure you're holding it with the right hand alone. You have to lift it at least one hand breadth from the ground. Rav Acha, the son of Rabbi Chanina, says, what is a verse that proves this? And he says, I will lift the cup of salvation, and upon the name of the Lord I will call, which means that you have to lift it, and lifting has to be at least one hand breadth. He fixes his eyes on the cup so that his attention will not be distracted for it, and he sends it as a gift to the members of his household that his wife will be blessed. Story time. The Gemara relates. Ula happened to the house of Rav Nachman. He ate bread, recited grace after meals, and gave the cup of blessing to Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said to him, Master, please send the cup of blessing to my wife Yalta. Ula responded to him, there is no need. As Rabbi Yochanan said as follows, the fruit of a woman's body is blessed only from the fruit of a man's body. As it is stated, and he will love you and bless you and make you numerous, and he will bless the fruit of your body. The Gemara infers, he will bless the fruit of her body was not stated. Rather, he will bless the fruit of your, in masculine singular, body. For his wife to be blessed with children, it is sufficient to give the cup to Rav Nachman. So Ula said, the fact that I'm giving you the cup of wine is good enough for your wife to be blessed. She does not have to drink from the wine herself. That option was also taught in a Brisa. Rabbi Nassim says, from where is it derived that the fruit of a woman's body is only blessed from the fruit of a man's body, as it is stated, and he will bless the fruit of your body. He will bless the fruit of her body was not stated, rather the fruit of your body in masculine terms. Well, anyways, meanwhile, Yalta heard that Rav Nachman asked the guest to send her the cup of wine, and he refused, and then she was very angry. The Gemara relates that meanwhile Yalta heard Ula's refusal to send her the cup of blessing. Yalta was the daughter of the exilarch and was accustomed to being treated with deference. So she arose in a rage, entered the wine storage, and broke 400 barrels of wine. Okay. Afterwards, Rav Nachman said to Ula, please send her a cup. Ula sent Yalta a different cup with a message, saying that all of the wine in this barrel is wine of blessing. Even though you did not drink from the cup of blessing itself, you may drink from the barrel which the cup of blessing was poured. She sent him a stinging response. From itinerant peddlers, Ula traveled regularly from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia and back. Come meaningless words, and from rags come lice. Wow. Okay. She was not happy. Ravasi said, one may not speak over a cup of blessing from the moment he takes it in his hand until he drinks it. Ravasi said, one may not recite a blessing over a cup of punishment. The Gemara clarifies, what does it mean, a cup of punishment? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said, a second cup. That opinion was also taught in a Brisa. One who drinks in pairs should not recite a blessing, because it is stated, prepare to meet your God, O Israel. One must be well prepared in order to stand before his Creator. And this person who drank 2 cups of wine is not prepared, as drinking an even number of cups of wine is dangerous, because in those days the demons were lurking in anything that had pairs. In concluding the halachis of blessings, the Gemara states, the Rabbi Abahu said, and some say it was taught in a Brisa, one who eats and walks recites the blessing of grace after meal standing in one place where he finished eating. And one who eats standing recites the blessing while seated. And one who eats reclining on a divan sits and then recites the blessing. And the halacha is, in all of these cases, you should sit and then recite the blessing. May we return unto thee, three who ate. We have finished the, was it fifth chapter of the tractate Brachas. Let us begin the next chapter. This chapter is going to be a very interesting one. There are two schools of thought that are major opinion holders when it comes to the Mishnah. There was a man whose name was Shammai and a man whose name was Hillel. They each had a school. Shammai had a school, and his students are called Beis Shammai, which means the house of Shammai. And Hillel had a school, and his school was called Beis Hillel, the house of Hillel. And they clashed about almost everything. They had a difference of opinion. The final ruling usually follows Beis Hillel because they had the larger school, and we know that the law goes after the majority. There are a few times that there, and we're going to learn them later, that the law goes according to Beis Shammai. Here are the differences of opinion when it comes to a meal. You know what? Maybe let's start this a little bit, and then we'll jump back into it next week. Sorry. Next week we will not be having class. Kids are on vacation, and I doubt I'll be able to make it. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll pick this up. The Mishnah says these are the matters.
Tuesday and Wednesday?
Next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, no class.
Okay.
Yeah. These are the matters of dispute between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel with regards to the halachas of a meal. One dispute concerns the order of the blessings in Kiddush. Beis Shammai says when one recites Kiddush over wine, one recites the blessing over the sanctification of the day, and afterwards the blessing over the wine. Beis Hillel say the opposite. First, you make the blessing over the wine, and then you recite the blessing over the day. And that's what we do. Before we finish, tomorrow's class is going to be on the subject of where is this? To question without questioning. A faith which is unshaken by questions. How can we believe so strongly that even the questions don't question our faith? That we can discover and explore and question, but our faith does not be shaken. Looking forward to see you tomorrow, and we wish a speedy recovery to Zalman. Wishing you all the best and a wonderful day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Take good care.
Bye-bye.